Hello, this is Balance for Sevens, and I'm back today. Let's talk about my mom. That's a very, very touching subject for me. My mother. My mom was everything to me. She was like the epitome of the perfect mother. She was that mother you used to see in the black and white, cooking and serving her kids, always was with her children, always kept the family together. That was my mother. Very beautiful woman. Um, Gorgeous hair. Her whole face was freckled. Matter of fact, with her freckles, she looked like almost my complexion in the face. But the rest of her was very, very fair because, her freckles just made her look darker. And she got us all with the freckles. We all had the freckles, all her children. We all didn't get her lips and her hair. She had very small, pretty, cute lips. Matter of fact, she had no lips at all. It was really cute. And I like that. But my mother, that's a really touchy subject for me. So just bear with me on that. I don't even know where to begin with my mother. I think growing up, I just remember some of the best parts of my mom. My mother did work. She was a single mother. She worked. I knew my dad, but he wasn't in my life like that at all. I had a pony as a little girl, but I wasn't allowed to visit the pony, so I felt like that defeats having a pony. But it was just things that were going on with my father just for namesake. It just made it look good, but it wasn't good at all. It wasn't good. And I'm not complaining. How some people were like, you had this and you had that, and you just complaining. It was nothing like that. It really, no. I had no relationship at all with my dad. I knew who he was, though. I didn't know him. But my mom was everything to me. My mom had me at almost 40. Yeah, they called me a change of life baby. I'm telling you. But having older siblings like that is very, very tough because they're not like brothers and sisters to you. They're like aunts and uncles. They really are. I don't want people to be deceived by that in my world. My oldest brother is like 23, 24 years older than me. When I was born a aunt already. I already had nieces and nephews out there before I even came into the world. And, so we came from a huge family. I'm the youngest of 8. And I have siblings, lots of siblings that are way older than me. I already had kids, married, families of their own. So I actually only grew up in the household with my brother, 2 of my brothers basically, and actually the other one next to him in age, he was practically grown. He was like maybe 8, 9 years older than me. So not when I was born, of course, at 9 years old, but you know what I'm saying. As I got old enough to remember some things, he was damn near an adult himself out there, just doing his thing. Only one was closer to me is my brother, Alan. He was closer to me in age. So we were, born my mom. Him and I are born of a different dad than the rest of my siblings. My mother lost her husband when he was like 33 years old. Pregnant with the brother that is next to my brother's age. The brother that, well, they all my brothers, but that's next to his age, closer to him in age. So it was only the 2 men that I really know of that she had kids with. And like I said, I'm the youngest. And my mom raised 8 children. She raised 8 of her own kids and kept us all together. They had kids, and my mother always made sure that we was all able to see each other. It wasn't, oh, you're going to have kids with that person, we're not going to know them. My family, I can genuinely say know each other, and I really owe that to my mother. I can't say that's nobody else. And and we carry that to this day. It's like, okay, who had a child with whom, we're going to go see that child. We're going to go find out who that child is. We want that child to know the family. That's just how we are. Once we know something, and it's real important that the family knows that side of the family. That's one thing I can say about all the men in my family. They all know and deal with all their children. You know what I'm saying? Unlike a lot of broken families, they barely even know their father. That's the way I felt about my own dad. But my mom always kept that together. My mother was the cook of the family. If you wanted to cook anything or learn how to make anything, my mother could do it. I don't recall anything that I called her about, other than like a lot of processed food. If I called her about, well, how you make like macaroni and cheese, even though this is an example. She's like, I don't know, I don't make no macaroni and cheese out the box. You know, my mother was very homemade. You know, my mom was born in 1928, so that really, you know, takes her back to, she comes from North Carolina. They grew up on a farm, a real farm. They had pigs. They went out and picked food out of the garden and cooked it. She took me down there. Oh my gosh, it was like, I'm from Baltimore, so it was like the boringest thing. But when I look back at it now, it's like, wow, I wish I could go back there and get those days back. And it's true what they say. You wish you can get those days back, because it was always me and my mother. I don't remember her taking my brother with me. She would leave him up here because he was rowdy. That boy, he gave my mother a headache. She was like, okay, I'm going to send you over there with your big sister. You go all the way up to Pennsylvania, and me and Kim going to go down North Carolina. And we would go down North Carolina. And, you know, I like being with my mother. That was one thing I ain't never going to regret. But the hardest part was being down there. And I didn't know nobody. I didn't. My mom knew everybody, and when she came into town, everybody would come to that house. Everybody was like, gobs of people coming. Allison, they didn't call her Alice. I'm sorry, they called her Pat. Like I said before, I don't know where Pat came from. I don't think she knew where Pat came from. She just flowed and rolled with it, and she would go down there, and people would just flock to her. And they all were like that. They all were cooks, and oh my gosh, but they were, the whole dynamic is different from city life. It's true. Back then, what this was like, I'm going to say 80s, you go down, they are literally barefooted. And I used to hear that. I used to thought it was just okay, even further back than me, that they don't do that no more. Oh, yes, they did. They literally walk barefooted on like gravel road. I'm like, y'all crazy? I mean, it was just nuts. I couldn't believe it, but it was, when I look back at it, it was just fun, and they just admired us, or me, so to speak. I was the only one that, I was the youngest. I was the only one that was there with them, and I was the only one from Baltimore, other than Mama wasn't from Baltimore. I was the only one, so I was a city girl. I seen things down there I ain't never seen before. They would walk literally like a mile to go to the store. I was like, oh my gosh. And I walked with one of my cousins, whose name was, yes, Barbara Jane. Oh my gosh. These names, Lula Mae and Barbara Jean, Lula Mae, Emma Jean. It was all these names with these extra names on top of it. My mother's name wasn't like that. She didn't have that kind of name, but it was crazy. It was just, when I look at it, it was just so much fun when I look at it. And she would only take me, and we would go down there, and they eat, they cook. And I never forget, I went on this, it was like an extra porch that they had. It was really hot. I mean, it was hot. It felt like 100 and something degrees. They didn't have central air. Everything was fans in every room, and everything was like gated. Not gated, but screen doors. Screen doors got the mesh everywhere. Everything had mesh, and these huge, gigantic bugs that had never. I was like, what the hell is that? I just take off running. I'm like, what is that? What kind of bug is that? And they was like, calm down. And they don't calm down. Ain't nothing like that in the city flying around. What is that? So it was sick. Oh my gosh. It was just so, it was crazy. But when I look back at it, it was fun. I was like, wow, And they would give me paper and pen and tell me how to write. Because I would go down there like a month. And I would write my friends in Baltimore, like, yo, I miss y'all. What y'all? And don't tell me what they doing. Because I'm really going to be upset. Because I can't hang out with them. I can't go out at night and sit on the porch and we just sit out there and chill and look at the clouds and things like that. We can't do that down here. I mean, when it was black and when it got dark, you would just sit on these porches, right? They like turn off the lights because it's drawn these gigantic bugs I had never seen before. I'm telling you, y'all, I would just take off running. They were like, why is she running? I had never seen bugs like this. And they were just hitting against the screen like, pow, and they would stick. And then you could see them from the inside. You're like, what is that? What kind of bug is that? And they would tell you. You were like, no, I couldn't live here. There's no way I could live here. And like I said, we would walk to the store, and they would have like literally, it was a Coca-Cola deep freezer, the red Coca-Cola container, and you just get in there and they called it pop. They literally called it pop. It was like, wow, I really feel like I stepped back in the 60s, in the 80s. And you get the sodas and you return the bottles. They'll ask you, do you have any returns? And I'm like, return of what? You know, we did return bottles in Maryland. Maybe certain parts, I don't know, but where I came from, no. And they would take cases of, you know, those heavy, really thick Coca-Cola bottles. I mean, that you get more bottle than you get soda. That's how thick the bottles were. You couldn't even crack that across nobody's skull. If you did, you would knock them out and the bottle wouldn't break. Seriously. But, you know, those are the kind of things that my mother did with me. And I would get an allowance sometimes whenever she had it. And I would go buy my own summer clothes and just hang out. And I just had a really good mom. I remember greeting her at the door when she used to come home from work. And I used to just grab her purse. She would let me. She didn't even like, what are you doing? She didn't take the purse from me or nothing. She would let me grab the purse, and she would ask me, what am I looking for, though? And I would like, candy, you know? Because she worked where they sold candy and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm looking for some candy. She said, ain't no candy in there. But she would tell me, like, if she had gum or something like that, she'd be like, I have some gum in there if you want some of that, but I don't have it. But then she started bringing me stuff home. And I remember she worked like 6 days a week. And I remember the one day that she was off, and she would make us a big breakfast. And I remember the pancakes. She had a stove that had a grill built on top of it. It was an old-timey stove then, but if you look at it now, it would be really, really nice because it had the grill and everything on it. It had the eyes in the grill. And she would pull down the grill area. She'd make pancakes and bacon and eggs and juice. Just the whole day. And I remember her, she used to stand over top of me and cut my pancakes up in these neat little squares and pull the syrup down inside. As a matter of fact, I did that the other day, and it definitely reminded me of my mom. So I said, I gotta talk about my mother. I was gonna talk about her anyway, but you know, I definitely want to leave my mother out of anything. She just was a good mother. She had some rough time. My mother had 8 kids, and her boys were like crazy. The nuts, and I can clearly see how, you know, I have sons of my own now, and I see that, yeah, definitely, your boys, you worry about them, boy. But my mother was a trooper. You really couldn't tell. I couldn't tell that she worried about anything. She was a social butterfly. Whoever knew her loved her, and everybody called her mama. No one really called her Miss Alice. It was crazy where we were. No one called her by her name. They was like, they would even slip up, not knowing that they were calling her mama. They was like, where mama at? And I would catch it like, my mother? And it was just, you know, that's just how she was. Every Sunday she made huge meals. Family would come up there. Oh gosh, don't even mention Christmas and Thanksgiving. The only thing I didn't like about those big holiday dinners was we had to help with certain things. And she would give us them things we didn't want to do. Like, she would like chuck the peas and, oh my gosh, and peel the potato. When you young, you're really not interested in that stuff. You know, I don't want this stuff. And, you know, and my father would bring like co-op baskets of fresh vegetables, because that's the only thing my mother operated on. My mother did not do processed stuff. She really didn't. She even made homemade pancake batter. My mother didn't do Aunt Jemima and stuff like that. She just didn't. She everything she did, she fed us very, very regular, natural food. We grew up on that. That's why I'm really surprised I became a processed queen at one point. I guess because just watching my mother do it, it just looked like so much work. And but it was something that she really loved, apparently. And she loved keeping her family together and her kids. And sometimes if I saw her sad, that really bothered me, because she didn't deserve that. Whatever it was, she didn't deserve to be unhappy for no reason. She always was a giver. If she had it, she would give it to you. That was just how she was. My mother was never a no mother. No. Now my mother was a very mild, meek woman, very meek, but you couldn't dare take advantage of her. She wouldn't let you do that. She just had a way about her. My mother she didn't curse, anything. And if she did, she'd be like, oh, excuse me. It was instant. It came out just like that. Oh, did I say that? My mother was like that. But if you got her wrong, she'd give you a look, and you automatically like, I apologize right away. You know, it's just how she was. She just had that way about her. People didn't cross her and disrespect her like that. And if anybody that didn't know what crossed her and disrespect her, all she had to do was tell one of the family members, and they would handle it right. They would handle it either right then and there, or whenever that person was gonna come around, it was gonna be handled. And that's the kind of person she was. Very, very loved. I never seen so much love in one person in my life, really. Even up to her dying day, my mother, she died with dignity. I knew, my mom had gotten real small, and I used to ask her was she sick or anything, but apparently she wasn't sick then, because my mother was small for some years. She just kept the weight off. She had a very small appetite at some point, but my mom was a smoker, and she would try to quit, and then she would go back on, and it was a huge battle for her, because she had been smoking since she was 12, and she died at 82. She was very, very blessed. She didn't get it till she was around 81. She got cancer, and it was hard, but my mom, I even asked her myself, how did she feel when she got the news, and she kind of shrugged her shoulders, like she kind of knew, but we made sure her life was totally comfortable. My mom she was just oh my gosh, she was the epitome of how you should walk your life and how you should be prepared. When me and my sister went to handle everything with the funeral homes and everything, my mother had already taken care of everything. That was shocking. We were both like, what? My mother did it in her 50s, literal 50s or 60s. She had already got a plot. She had picked out her tombstone. She had paid for everything. She still had insurances. She just everything. She just took care of everything. And she even picked out her own coffin. That was really creepy. But my fear was when I went in there, I didn't want to have to pick out a coffin. So where my mother would be laying. Because they got these empty coffins in a book, and they show you these pictures, and you're like, I don't want to see this. But all they did was bring out the picture of the one that my mother had picked out. And I saw the color, and I just turned away. I didn't want to look at it no more, because I knew what I had to face like in a day or two. I had to see my mother like that. But before that, my mother was a ride or die chick, as we called her. She just, oh man, I never seen somebody so meek-mannered but would be willing to do anything. If you asked her, like, Mama, you want to go? Yep, let's go. Certain, lots of things. I remember we went to a drag queen club down in Florida. My niece had her bridal shower there. Oh my gosh, we had a ball, a literal ball. It was just the best, and you get your best makeup tips from drag queens. So it was awesome. And my mother went, and she was like 75. And they say the queen bitch is in the house. They were rowdy up in there, and I was like, watch your mouth. And they was okay. And we just had a good time it was just so much fun. It was like so much fun. And Mama just was one of them women that just whatever you wanted to do, she was like, okay, let's go. I never forget my first wedding. My first, I've been married twice. And my first marriage, I had a wedding. And behind the scene, they're like, the groom wasn't there yet. We were all there, but we were waiting on him. And it was his mother holding him up. But we kind of knew that. And he came. He left his mother. He left. He was like, I see what you're doing. I'm going to leave it anyway. And my mother got wind of it. And I remember her saying, no one monkey stop, no show. Because I was getting upset. Because I felt like, I saw what she was doing and where she was trying to take it. And it wasn't good. It wasn't healthy at all. And she was like, one monkey stop, no show. You keep going and you do what you need to do. Don't worry about that. And she was just that kind of person. She would just drop this wisdom on you and just keep it moving. And if you wanted to talk to her, she would talk to you, My mother was just this, oh my gosh. It's really hard to explain her in such a short period of time, because there's no way it might even be a part two, because that's just how she was. She was a great mother, a really good mother, and I always said that. I remember when I was a young girl, I used to pray at night. I did the Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep prayer every night, and at the end, I would just be thankful for all the things I was, thank God for all the things I was, and I was all about family. Family was real important, because my mother instilled that in me. Our family meant the world to me, always have, and always will. It's still like that for me. And my mom, I always used to pray to God, like, Lord, don't let me ever lose my mother. Because I knew I had an older mother. And I was like, don't let me lose my mother because I don't think I can handle it. I probably want to die before her. And I used to say those prayers because I can't handle it. It's like, I can't handle it. I can't handle it. You know, that's my mom. I remember when I was really, really young, and when she did come home, when she go to bed at night, I had a room. I had a really nice room to myself. I very seldom slept in it. I would go and get in bed with my mother. Every night I would just get in the bed with my mom and I put my arm around her. And she was like, why do you put your arm around me at night? Because I guess she felt smothered. I don't know. But she was like, why you do that? And I was like, I was fall out of bed. I remember stuff like that, you know. And then he got my brother. I'm like, why are you here? You know. We all were like that about my mother. We all felt like she was just our mother. Just mine. She don't belong to you. She's mine. And we would say that. Mine. Well, not so much. I didn't say my mother. My sister does that. She would do that until die. My mom. I said, what do you mean your mother? She just your mother. What you talking about? But we all would battle over that, you know. Even where up till when she got sick, I even asked her if she wanted to stay with me. I knew the situation. If she had got, you know, because I lived out of state at the time and commuting, you know, she would be by herself. And I knew I was in a real bad spot at the time when she got sick, but I was determined to be there. Financially, everything was shot for me, but I didn't care. You know, that was my mother. I had to do what I had to do. And when she took ill, it was devastating on the family. You would think, I mean, literally, it felt like a bomb dropped on everybody. There wasn't one person that wasn't affected. It wasn't one person that didn't, like, hear it in the family, even people outside the family, you know. And it's almost like we already thought the worst even before it even happened. And I think that was the most devastating blow, because I remember getting a call at work with my sister, and she was screaming and howling, and she dropped the phone or something, or hung up or something. I was like, what, you know? And my nerves is already, you know, I talked about my anxieties before, and she did that, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I have a niece that worked at the place. I have two nieces that worked at the same place. We all worked in the same building, but did different things, different departments. And the one niece came, come on, Kim, come on, let's leave, you know. So I told my job, and we went straight down to the hospital. And my mom was laying there. Everybody was in there. It was so crowded. It would get so crowded almost every time my mother was anywhere that they would actually ask us to come in, like, in groups, and some would have to wait and others would go in, and it was crazy. My mother, oh my gosh, that's kind of that's I think anybody, if they wanted to die with dignity, that's the way to go right there. Not cancer, but just family being there for you all the way to your last breath was taken. And, you know, I was fighting through it all because I was having real bad panic attacks. I was trying not to show it, but it was not easy. I had breakdowns at home. I was just always praying, but a part of me already knew that it was taking a turn for its worse. And when it was doing that really was bothering me, when it was taking its turn for the worse, because I already felt it. I started taking Benadryl. I need something to calm me down, because there's no way I'm going to be able to go view a body. There's no way I'm going to be able to get to a funeral like that. And it was really, really hard. But I always just tried. And they had this projector screen playing when you walk in the funeral home, and all the pictures of my mom was flashing through it. All of it. It wasn't a picture, honestly, that she didn't take one of her family members. It was just flashing through her. And the Mama song was playing from Boyz II Men. And someone sung the grandma song during her funeral. Lots of people spoke. It was crowded. It was so crowded. People were standing on the walls, and it was a nice-sized church. It was pretty crowded. I kind of knew that from the get, you know. It was just so much going on, but I always felt like I was finding my mother in the most inopportune times when she was sick. Like when I would go visit her, she would be real slouched over. No one was there at that time, because worked up the street from where she was. So I would go down on my lunch break and I would make sure she was all right. And just a part of me just felt real odd inside. I felt like I wasn't there no more because I couldn't stand seeing her pass away. I couldn't. It was hard. I would go see her and they used to write this thing on her arm, like when they changed her bag. And I took a doctor down there, and because I worked in the medical field, and she came down and she said, "This is not good, Kim. You know, you need to like kind of come to grips with your mother's passing away. It's not going to be a reverse thing." I tried to come to grips with it, but I wasn't doing very well with it. And I'd rather have went to work, just anything to get away from it, because it was just freaking me out so much. I would go in there and I would like open the blinds. She didn't want the blinds open anymore. She just like closed the blinds. But she was still very functional. But everything was starting to shut down. All her organs, everything was shutting down. And they said that she was going into this thing called not euphoria. Like when the endorphins kick in. It is kind of like a euphoria state. It's like she no longer had no feeling. The lady explained to me and my sister. And my mom had been in there for a little bit now, and they was like, we done all we can do. You know, we don't see nothing else we can do. We want to put her in hospice. And my sister wouldn't sign the paper, so she pushed the papers over to me. And I always kind of felt bad about signing those papers, because I felt like I'm the one who signed her over for that. But I knew it was already coming. And so did my sister, but she was just in full denial. And I just went on and signed the papers. And we explained to her, we didn't tell her it was hospice, we just told her, you know, it was a better place, you know, and it was like, it's set up like a hotel and everything. It was real peaceful, and there was no machines, so nothing. But actually, they really didn't have my mother on anything. As a heart monitor, that was it. They took her off of that. That's pretty much all, because my mother wasn't on no type of life support. She was very functional mind-wise. She just no longer was mobile because everything was shutting down and her body was starting to swell because she was passing away. And they was amazed that she was still functioning. One of the guys came in to take her heart because the heart thing wasn't reading anymore. He had to go down in the basement of the hospital and find this old monitor where it's like a sonogram, and they would put it on her wrist. And when you heard the heartbeat, it was literally almost a minute apart, almost a whole minute apart. But they was amazed that my mother's mind was still there, and she was still talking to us. It was like, it's absolutely amazing that she's not incoherent at this point because her heart is barely even beating. And at that point, and the last time I saw her up on the regular floor, they had this balloon thing on her. And I said, what is that? It almost looked like a blow-up mattress laying on top of her body, but it was like clear. And they told me her body temperature was dropping so low that they need to try to keep some heat on her. But she didn't complain. She didn't say anything, my mother. But that day that me and my sister went to talk to the hospice people, she definitely said something to me and my sister. And she said, what were you and your sister talking about? And we just explained to her that they just wanted to tell us that they wanted to move you to another part of the hospital and make you comfortable. You know, and that's when the lady, you know, talked to us and put us in a room and everything. And we said what we had to say. And I signed the paper, and I gave her my number. And I went to see my mother the next day. I was the first to arrive there at the hospice. It was this girl standing there with like some Nicki Minaj hair with a full plate of food. It was a chicken, it was broth. I said, what are you doing? My mother can't eat. And you can clearly see my mother was already deceased. Her mouth was wide open. I don't think that her eyes was open. I can't remember. Her hands was up like this. And I think that's the part that really freaked me out. Maybe her eyes was open. I don't know why that girl was in there to this day, because she could clear, the girl worked in hospice, so she knew. It was that just it. My mother hadn't eaten in months. I didn't understand that, and plus she was on like a special diet, so that really pissed me off. I was like, why is she in here? You know what I'm saying? The food wasn't touched. I will say there wasn't nothing touched. Because the first thing went through my mind, did that girl put something in my mother's throat, you know, and make her choke, you know. But her eyes was up a little bit, and her hands was like this. Her mouth was open, almost like she saw something, I think, and it just freaked her out, and it bothered me. I was the first to see that. I was the only one there. I came down from my job, and I put her hands down under the covers. I closed her eyes, and I closed her mouth, and I texted everybody. I was like, y'all need to come down here because Mom's not doing well at all. She's not coherent. She's not talking. She's not doing nothing. She was just breathing like every minute. Now, her heart was doing, her body was mimicking it after a while. And it only took a day. Everybody came down. And they were so proud of past. Everybody came down. There was so many people in there. And we prayed. They sung songs and everything. And like the next day, they called me. I was with my sister. She was handling some business with her granddaughter. And I ain't want to really, I just let her do it. They had called me already. My mother had passed away at 9-something that morning. And I told my sister after the fact. And she just lost it. And I'm like, but you knew this was coming. She was right there with us the day before. We already knew. But I didn't understand how she processed it. So I couldn't blame her for it. But me, I was just trying to stay calm. But my nerves were like shot. And when the crowd started to die down with my mother and everybody, they was there. They was there a long time too. My nieces, all they did was lay with her and stroke her hair. She was already gone. Yeah, she was out. We came up there when she had passed away. When they called us and told us she passed away, I told everybody, and I said, Mama passed away at so and so whatever time, and we all went back up to hospice. We saw her in the room, and she had a white sheet, the same sheet she had on, but she was under the covers. Everything, she was closed up, you know, her mouth, everything was closed. Her mouth was slightly open. There was a little bit of blood, because her mother would bleed sometimes when she coughed. And my great niece went over there and wiped her mouth and put lip gloss on her lips. They stroked her hair. They just laid there with, not laid, but they stayed there with my mom the whole time. And I couldn't stay in the room that long. Just watching her in that state, I just couldn't do it. I did. My girlfriend came up. Me and her stood in the room and talked to Mama for a little bit after she passed away. My other niece, you know, when a person passes away at a hospital, they put them down in the morgue and then wait for the funeral home to come and get them. Well, my family didn't allow that. They was like, we're going to stay here until the funeral home come and get her. You're not going to put her in no morgue. She ain't going in nobody's freezer. You know, not here anyway. I don't know what they do at the funeral homes to preserve them for the funeral. But they were like, no. And they stayed. They literally stayed. I had to go home. I was like, I can't do this. You know, I got to go lay down or something because I can't just lay there and look at my mother like that. She's not talking to us. She's not doing nothing. You know, she's laying there. So she was deceased. It was the first time I ever saw a dead body like that, just laying there. And she looked like she was asleep. And it was something to behold. It wasn't very pleasant. But then we did the funeral and everything, and when we went to view the body, she looked different. And she looked actually 20 years younger than what she was. Her face was fuller. And I asked them about it, you know. I asked them why was her face and everything so full, and they said, because your mom had swelled up and we couldn't drain the fluid. So what we did was try to accommodate what she was swollen at in her face. And they just puffed her up. And it looked like Mama back then, though. It still looked like Mama, but it wasn't the Mama we remember before she passed away. You know, the Mama we remember for so many years, it was real, real tiny. You know, it wasn't that Mama, but it was still Mama to us. But it was very hard. Oh my gosh. Everybody came. It was just hard. Even people we never seen before from around her way was coming in to view her. They was signing the books, and I did her obituary. And there was no problems with the obituary at all. No one complained. It was so somber after my mother passed away. And the one thing I regret not doing was sending out thank you cards. It was very exhausting. I did that with my father. I sent out the thank you cards and everything with him, but I didn't do it with my mother. I just did the obituary and we helped with the, did we and my sister did what we had to do to make sure my mother was buried properly. But it was, woof, if you ever have to experience that, and I know lots of people have, and lots of people will have to do it. It's not easy, but the person that you love the most that happened to, or whoever, if they take care of a lot, it's a lot easier on you. It really is. We were shocked. We didn't know. We thought we would have to do everything. My mother had done everything years prior, and she wasn't even sick. Living her life. She just went to the funeral home and just took care of everything. And it was awesome. And it encouraged me and my sister to do the same, So we wouldn't have to put our kids through that. It's already taken care of. I even did a will, and I think recording a will is a great way of showing that, this is the things that I want to have done. And then you can get it, I guess, I don't know if it's notarized through video. I'm not sure, but it's a really good thing to do because it lightens the load, because you already got to deal with so much grief. And then on top of that, you got to deal with the business aspect of everything. And it doesn't make nothing easy. But then it becomes a process and it becomes hard. So, yeah. Excuse me. When it comes to my mom, I get upset. I get really upset. She's been gone now 5 years. Yeah, it's 2015. She died in 2010. And I remember that storm that came the night before she passed away. And my daughter called and she said, I'm scared. I think the storm really means something. She called me like 3 or 4 in the morning. And I was like, yeah, me too. It was nothing else to be said, and that's when that's when I got the news the next day that my mother had passed. That storm was one of the most severe storms we had ever had, and it came in the middle of the night, early in the morning. So it was still dark outside, and it came so early, and it just woke everybody up. Everybody was woke at the time, just like boom, like everybody get up, And I believe I think my mother passed away then, technically, but he said, the guy said she passed away around 9, so I'll take his word for it. But yeah, I think my mom was pretty much saying that, because I remember she was telling me before she passed away, she needed me to take, because she always had life insurance policies on my kids and me, and she said, I need you to get the insurance policy and do what you can do with it. You could keep it or cash it in. And I knew she was saying that goodbyes. And I used to go just talk to her, what I could say to her, but I was very limited on my words because I didn't want to bring up the fact that maybe she was dying and she came to terms with it. I didn't know. I didn't want to ask her that. I didn't want to say, are you ready or prepared? I mean, it's scary to tell somebody that could be scared to die, so you just didn't know what to say. And then I tried to get the secret book. I went everywhere to get this book, and it was sold out. And I ended up, my daughter-in-law loaded it on my iPod. And the lady was actually talking to you. But I had pulled up some of it off of mine and just printed out some papers, and I came and read it to her. And I went in the help part about how, you can pull through it and you can be okay. And I remember reading something like that to her, and the relief that came on her face was like unreal. I couldn't believe the look that came to her. She had heard something that kind of eased her a little bit. And I think she was dealing with those fears all by herself, and she didn't share that, at least not with me. And maybe she knew who I was. Like, if I even talked to Kim like this, she'd probably get upset, so I'm not going to do it. But my sister expressed more fear about it than I did, so I'm not sure if she talked to her. I know they were close. She always said they were best friends. She had my mom a lot longer than I did. Like I said, that sister is 18 years older than me, so she had my mother 18 years longer than I did. And they were even pregnant together a couple of times, so they definitely shared a bond. And they talked and they hung out and they clubbed together. They did a lot of things together, so I understood that. But my mom was a different mom when I came along. She was just a full-blown mother. It wasn't all that other stuff. They had her when she was younger. I had her when she was older. So, and they used to say that too. You are definitely a change of life, baby. Why would that be changed when she had you? And but I'm glad I had the mother that I had. I wouldn't take that back if you paid me to. I always told God that you blessed me there. I had no other blessings. I had the best mother ever, and I would never change that. And I hope someday when I get to heaven, I get to see her. She still knew she was my mom, and she still is my mom, and even in heaven. I wonder about that. Do you think like that? Like when your loved ones go to heaven, will they be your loved ones still in heaven, or are they just people in heaven that once was your loved ones here on earth? I had a lot of questions, but it was a great journey with my mother. It was the best thing, and she lived a full life, and she died with great dignity, and the whole family saw to that. And I love her. She hasn't visited me yet. I'm hoping she visits me in a dream and let me know that she's alright. And I hope she ain't upset that I put her in the hospice. Well, that's my journey with my mom, my story about her. And if you have a story about your mom or your grandma or your granddad, your dad, anybody, whoever raised you and had a huge impact in your life and meant the most as you were growing up and gave you the best advice or whatever, let us all know. I'm not telling you to let me know. Just let us all know. We all need to share these positive stories and these good, fulfilled stories. Even our bad stories. Share them with somebody. You'd be surprised how much you have in common with others. This is Balance 47. Have a good day.